I appreciate you. Thanks, homie. Also, you're the first to comment. So you know what that means? You win a $50 gift card. What's up? So either I can shoot you a message on Facebook, wherever, but I'll send you a $50 gift card because you're the first one to comment. So bonus on that. And good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, so we're live on the office hours. Let's get live here on Amazon. And I'll get set up in our Facebook group as well. And we'll just make sure everything's kind of flowing nicely everywhere else. Okay. Cheers. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. What word? That's crazy. Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Send me a DM. All right. I'll DM you. Yeah. Life's been like, I want to say good. That's like my natural reaction, but honestly, that's why I'm talking to you about burnout. It's been an interesting opportunity to explore balance, burnout, self-care. It's been trialing to a degree, but actually really rewarding at the same time. I kind of call it the entrepreneurial cocktail, where it's simultaneously very rewarding, very fulfilling, but also extremely stressful and anxiety provoking at times. So that's how it's going. How about you, man? How you doing? And then good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. So I just realized, since Daniel, you were the first one to comment on TikTok, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give a $50 gift card for pretty much the first person to comment on Amazon Live as well, and a $50 gift card for first person to comment on our Facebook group as well. Unless it's you, Daniel. You can't go hopping into all of them to do that. You know what I'm saying? That I'm not going to fly, or let fly, I should say. Also, when you pick, fun fact, man, I don't know if you've seen this, but if you go to our website, I have a specific link you'll see in our Facebook group and I'm putting it in right now, and you'll see it in our newsletter. If you vote for a topic, it could be any topic. Once you vote for it, we pick a random winner each week. No one actually voted this week. So if you would have voted, you would have won a $100 gift card. But basically, you can vote and put yourself in the winning to get a $100 gift card every single week. And then we do, again, a $50 gift card for the first person to comment. Daniel, I know that was you. Let's go live here in the Facebook group. All right. I know maybe the internet connection might get a little squirrely based on all the things. All right, let's get started here. So the first thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to highlight from a product perspective. We're going to go into our massage gun. We're going to do some self-care here to get started while I'm kind of getting everything set up. And good morning here on Facebook as well. I'm going to go into the Facebook group and just comment, but get our massage gun set up. I'm going to go with, and that's the cool thing, you have all these different types of attachment heads that you can use. I'm going to go with the more refined bullet point. This is probably my favorite. The thing I love about this too is it's got 1 through 30 as far as the, we're going to get, I'm going to crank this up actually, because I was holding it down with the kiddos yesterday solo while Carrie was working, and man, my body's feeling it. And that's kind of like part of, again, the burnout and making sure we're not getting sick and some of the things that I want to talk about. All right, so let me hop in here and we're going to tag everyone. Boom. Perfect. Okay. All right. So now we pretty much got everything set up. And what I love about this is the 1 through 30, you get really refined control. Oh, I'm getting into that peck right now. So we're going to talk about, again, being able to have boundaries, balance, and just preventing burnout. There's some strategies behind this that really become impactful and just can be very systematic. This is literally something I'm presenting on tomorrow. So I thought it was timely, especially with the holidays. But this same principle can be applied anywhere across the board, whether you're, chronically stressed without recovery. Some of the common things to look out for is like, hey, like for me, I'll just give some personal examples. Am I getting sick more often than I have been in the past? That's like a really big one for me, where I know and a lot of it I know is stress. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to switch and I'm going to throw up my heated massage gun now. So I'm going to this is the cool thing again. And I'm going to talk about some of the simple things as far as tools is just having little daily acts of self-care. But the things I want you to be able to be on the lookout for before I dive into the actual benefits of the products is either it's chronic fatigue, chronically stressed without recovery, feeling disinterested from your actual activities, things that have brought you joy in the past, things that you've actually enjoyed and you just don't want to do anymore. You're just kind of avoiding. Oh, I didn't charge this. Amateur move. So the one thing I will talk about really quick, speaking of even burnout, I was maybe you're a little bit more forgetful too. Normally I charge it right after I'm done and I just didn't. So that's kind of an amateur move. But the Renfo, the one I like about this by comparison, to the your massage gun is first off, look at the size. This is like very compact, mobile friendly, but this has 4 levels of intensity. This one has 30. So you can get really dialed in specific. That's very nuanced. It doesn't really matter for like the everyday person, in my opinion. But like for me, I like to use it partially to warm up, sometimes as a recovery, sometimes for actually very intentional things. So it allows you to get very dialed in and specific. The only thing for the Renfo though is it has the heated tip, which is really nice for like, again, especially in the winter months, our holidays, warming tissue up and just warming up in general. But going back to the self-care component, that just feels nice. I even like to do it like on my chest, on my sternum to get some heat and just like different neck areas and just some muscular warming up and integration. But I'm going to highlight and go back to our book here for a second because I want to talk about, again, these strategies that we highlight in the 28-day reset. So this is something too, we're going to be upgrading to the 100-day comeback series. That's going to be dropping on Amazon as well. And also what I will say, even for our band set that we have as well, that you'll see, I have some of the bands connected even right over here attached. The cool thing is you can attach them onto like different pull-up bars, put them on different things. We're going to actually have the book be included in that set. You're also going to get a consult call with someone on my team when you order the band set now. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then we also have our cookbook series. This is another one in the wintertime I highly recommend getting into, which is warm, kind of nourishing. And then for our crock pot's actually in the other room. I was going to like demo it, but today is not the day for that. But we have over 20 recipes in here that are just going to be like protein rich, nourishing, set it and forget it style. We can also go, some of them are going to have meat, but we have vegan friendly options in here as well. Vegetarian, you can substitute. Actually working on a dessert cookbook to go along with this. That's going to be pretty sweet. So just keep your eyes peeled for that, but I wanted to touch on that as well. Now tagging back into, again, our talking points and being able to think about burnout. So I want to pause for a moment and share with you guys I'm going to kind of go back and forth between the topics, talk about some products I think are related to it, some habits that are related to it. And the first thing I like to do every morning, I'm going to highlight one of the books that's related to this, is a habit on, first, I listen to my Abide app for anywhere from 3 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on how my day's been looking. Transparently, where I've been at, my Abide time has been like 3 minutes in the morning, just like mornings with Jesus section. They have this whole little section, different like meditations specifically with Jesus. Again, you don't, and I'm not saying that everyone has to obviously do this specifically, but what I would recommend, if you're not like religious or spiritual or whatever that is, be able to find time where you can sit with yourself in quiet and meditate and be able to have the prompts for that. I think that becomes really valuable and really important. That's like obviously a huge piece and part to it. And that's why I obviously do it, or maybe I shouldn't say so obviously, but that's the reason I like doing it in the morning. I've been transparently just working on my relationship to God lately, or with God, and being able to also just have that time for myself in the morning to like slow things down. I find that becomes very helpful and very recharging as well. But the point of that is the Daily Stoic with a good combo, I find, with Ryan Holiday. So like today's a perfect example. It's the last day of the week. I did this last week as well for office hours, so you may be familiar, but I think I'm just going to read you the question. We're not going to necessarily journal the whole thing together, but today's prompt is, and today's what, the 9th? Yeah, I like to write down. So it says, usually you start this January 1st of the year, but I've just been starting when I started. What ruler do I measure myself against? Ooh, and then this is why I love these types of questions, or this book, because the questions it invites. So first I'll do like a 3 to 15 minute meditation. Then I'll go over to my Stoic journal and just like, even for a couple of minutes, like, okay, yeah, what ruler do I measure myself? What's my comparative processing is another way I like to look at that. How am I processing myself, evaluating myself, looking at that? And does that actually serve me at the end of the day? So that's, I think, a really valuable one that I'm totally going to spend a little bit more time on and get into actually after this live stream. But the other thing I tag into that I like to share with you guys, and again, I mentioned this in the last office hours as well, is then I go into my daily planner for the day and look at, okay, what is my plan for the day? I always do this in the morning and then I do it in the evening. So I pretty much, it's front of mind. So like, okay, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to journal. My other intention is be slow, smooth, and calm. That's like something I've really, slowing things down. It's like I pull it from the Marines. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, fast is deadly. So I don't necessarily need to be deadly anymore these days, but being able to be slow first, then I can be smooth, and then things tend to fall into place. And then I'm looking at, like, office hours prep. I'm going to do some weekly review. We're going to do stuff with the kids, do some stuff around the house. So it just brings things front of mind. I find this also when it comes to stress and chronic fatigue, a lot of times that's coming up because a couple things tend to happen. Either A, we're not planning things out and we're just like feeling very reactive to the day, or B, I have too many things planned out and it feels overwhelming. And that's why I like this journal, because it's like I can't have 100 task list. I have seven things. Really, it's 3 are my power hour tasks. Those are very clear intentions. Then I have 4 like to-do items, and then I have scheduled different prompts. So you can't really overwhelm yourself with this, which is what I like about it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to our burnout, when it comes to this just in general, the idea of what is leading this. Is it emotionality? And when ultimately our emotionality takes over, how are we showing up? Like yesterday, I'll give you a good example. Yesterday, again, Carrie's working a double. So she's gone from like 11 in the morning till pretty much 11 o'clock at night. So 12 hours, I'm holding it down with my 2 older daughters and our baby girl that we have together. Okay. So we co-parent with our exes. So we have like, it's a blended household is the point. And I say all this to say that the kind of stress dynamic can lead to emotionality. And when I say emotionality, one thing that anyone that knows me will know that be helpful to breathe. First one, this is like another from a little like package I got from Fitbeast. Having little like squishies like this is helpful. Is I can be like really excited. I can be really pumped, but I can also get like quick to turn on a dime and get really frustrated. So one thing I've been very intentional with, especially with the kids though, is not yelling at them. That's one thing I've worked a lot on. So I don't really yell at the kids anymore. But one thing I find myself doing is go into another room and I'll just yell. But I forget sometimes how loud I can be and they can still hear me. So my point of saying all this, that's where it can show up from an emotionality standpoint. It's like I go in the other room, but I'm still yelling. Like I literally just like roar sometimes to get energy out, which can be helpful actually when you're chronically stressed, if you have the environment, but being mindful of your environment is the other point to that. And using this strategy is something I like to look out for. Okay, so that's how it shows up emotionally for me. And how does that show up physically? And energetically, like when I say like your actual fatigue levels, like I actually don't feel very fatigued. I've also cut back on caffeine. In transparency, I've like stopped consuming THC for like months. At one point I stopped for a year, then I did it a little bit. And I'm like, I always experiment and see how my body responds. But right now it's been like maybe going on 3 months now without it. So I like to see and feel the difference there and all of that. Also, while I'm doing this, I'm literally just going to go through different, like what I would call stress relievers, but also really good forearm workouts from the Fit Beast kind of package. They got some really cool stuff in here. So this is going to be like this is another ADHD expression I find is like being able to keep my hands busy and have tactile integrations, which is helpful to look out for. So being mindful of, okay, how does that show up? Even physically, am I disinterested? Or for me, what happened is like about a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago, I got injured in my shoulder, which that can just happen. That doesn't necessarily show to stress. But what I find is if I'm physically injured and I'll have the same physical expression, that's where stress can even ramp up even more. So that's like a guard for me. But another way it can show up, or burnout in general can show up, is if you're disinterested from activities. Where I have like in jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or weight training, I in the past have been disinterested from those types of activities. And I've noticed that show up in different ways. So that's something to, again, just kind of be mindful of and to just be careful. So then once you notice that, like, okay, cool, I've noticed this. What am I going to do about it, right? This is another tricky one. There you go. So first notice, okay, I'm getting a little bit more emotional. I'm getting a little bit more frustrated. I'm getting a little bit more taxed, as it were. What am I going to do about that? And that's where it's, again, we go back to the Goldilocks zone. We've talked about this in past office hours, not only in Goldilocks zones of goal setting and habit setting, but the Goldilocks zone of how much do I want to adjust here? How sustainable are my adjustments? So I think about course correcting. So, okay, I could, in a hypothetical scenario, go from, okay, I'm doing things exactly as I'm doing them right now, and I'm going to complete 180 and completely turn things around. That's not probably going to be very sustainable, not be very consistent oriented. But if we can say, okay, I'm going to a couple degrees turn. So for example, this week, I'll be super transparent with you guys. I've been sick pretty much all week, finally getting my voice back. And I had coaching calls 1.5 days this week. The rest of the week, I pretty much took off. And with that, I was actually again, adjusting a little bit. I'm not going to drastically adjust my schedule. I'm not going to have calls on these days at all. But what I will do is, okay, I'm going to refine my schedule a little bit, or I'm going to rest a little bit and do this. That's another piece to it that I find really helpful when it comes to what we would call the Goldilocks zone approach, is make little adjustments and then find a plan you can stick to with 80% of routine sustainability. And then also this other pairing with that is the Goldilocks zone of effort and investment of 80%. So the 80-20 principle, give about 80%. Like obviously this goes against a lot of people, like 100%, 100% of the time. Yes. And I agree with that. 100%, 100% of the time is possible. Once you face burnout, though, then you need to recognize and take a step back, start to create some boundaries, start to explore this word of, I don't always love the idea of balance, but shifting and juggling where we're putting that energy, saying, okay, I'm going to go 80% now and see how that feels for a period of time. And then, for example, like I didn't work out this week. As I was sick, I was like, all right, I'm just going to like literally like lightly shadow box, go for walks to get blood flow. And that's it. I'm not going to be doing any other types of resistance training, heavy running, jumping rope, whatever. When it was tempting to do that. Maybe even a little balance on the physio ball, things like that. That's what I enjoyed doing. Now the other part, let's talk about some of the science behind this, right? Like this is the other part with, as I go through these, and this is where the office hours aspect of it kicks in. This is where I get to hit you guys with some science. So habits form through repetition and reward. And that we've talked about this in the past, and the reason I bring this up now is you can have habits built that can even be adjusted through burnout. So if you're feeling burnt out, it's an opportunity to look at your habits saying, okay, which one of these might have led me to burnout? And if it's okay, you take a true audit of that. You're like, you know what? Honestly, none of these have really felt like they've led me to burnout. Now we get to look at what's the environmental things that could have led to burnout. Like I know for me, I'll give you another example. Over a year ago, or just about a year and 2 months, Hurricane Helene came through the Western North Carolina area. And like where we live, you don't really like have hurricanes reaching this area. So I didn't plan for that. That was an environmental stressor that led to a lot of burnout and stress and shook up my entire business, my entire world, personally, professionally, and a lot of people. The thing I'm very thankful though, is that obviously I didn't lose a loved one. Like people died in this, like it was rough, but I was okay. Physically, family, close loved ones, everyone's okay. However, the one thing to keep in mind with that is that's out of our control, and that's the environmental stuff. So if it's not habits, we can keep going with our habits, but we can potentially still address them or adjust them. And also, let me know in the comments if this becomes a distraction. Not only live, but if we're repurposing and you watching the replays in different ways, if this becomes distracting, let me know. But I find it like a lot of fun and I enjoy it. And it's again part of the like forearm set that I've just been. This is again part to self-care is like taking little actions, 2-minute daily deposits, like being able to do like I just did 10 reps while we were talking, right? That can be do that for 2 minutes a day. I can be a 2-minute daily deposit into these habits and adjustments and refinement. So again, there's the environmental components, there's habitual things we've learned, behavior patterns, we get to address that. And if we want to adjust them, then we can adjust it through repetition and reward-based mechanisms. So our dopamine loop, other types of reward mechanisms in our brain. The other aspect to this too that becomes really important is the aspect of boundaries. This is a really important one. And Brene Brown's talked about this. Many other psychologists, authors, and individuals have talked about this. The idea of boundaries becomes really important when we're thinking not only in a work setting, but in a personal setting, in any kind of setting, and expectations with our own self. And boundaries I set with myself is like how I talk to myself, my cognitive behavioral therapy, like that positive self-talk that like, interestingly, especially for ADHD brain chemistry, I've learned over the years, especially now that I coach more with ADHD and like study it for my family and for myself, is we're getting rewards from problem solving. The drawback to that is then you can start to see problems everywhere. And you see problems everywhere. You see problems within your own self and others, and you want to like solve them, but then you see problems, and that can lead to some rough self-talk. So that's another variable in a practice you get to work on and making daily deposits with how we shift that behavior. So this is where I'll just bring up again the science aspect of it and being aware of if you're not even ADHD inclined, but just in general, this can show up for human behavior. And if we create behavior patterns of problem solving, you're going to see even problems within your own self constantly. So this is where self-care becomes important, and increasing self-care from a like, again, science perspective can impact our neurochemical resiliency. So from a dopamine perspective, serotonin, from GABA, these are all neurotransmitters that can feed not only reward mechanisms, but regulate our mood. And especially when you think about serotonin, the other cool thing about serotonin is over 90% of it's produced in our gut. So if we're not taking good care of our nutrition and our gut health and our probiotics and food we're taking in, things like that. It's going to impact our brain regulation, our mood regulation as well. So that's like another aspect to the science. So I wanted to touch on a couple of these pieces. I know it kind of jumped around a little bit. It's kind of marrying a lot of things and being able to also touch on what can we actively do. So before I want to talk about a couple other products you can potentially explore and some other habits that are related to them, but I want to highlight this notion of the biggest takeaway I would invite is first audit yourself. And when I say audit yourself, be able to look at, okay, is this something based on a behavior pattern I've created? Or is this an environmental thing that has been more recent that's come into play? And maybe it's even still something within your control. It may even be still something that you created. For example, having a baby is an environmental thing that you've created, that I've created, that can be new to the mix, that can impact sleep, mood regulation, all of these things. Now, we don't have a lot of control of necessarily how the baby sleeps, but we can control like, okay, I'm going to reduce my caseload. That's one thing I know Carrie and I have talked about. It's like, okay, we're going to reduce our caseload to a degree. We take some things off our plate on certain days, and I've adjusted my schedule. That's again where I talk about 1, 2, 3 degree course correction. The other thing is making 2-minute daily deposits, whether it's a movement break where I'm going to do like, I find yesterday is a great example. I was heating up some food and for 2 minutes, I shadow boxed in front of the microwave, or simultaneously, I was just busting out one of these and I was doing a different type of exercise from the kind of forearm kit set that I have from Fit Beast. Being able to utilize different tools. And that can even be something you reward yourself with. If you say, okay, cool, for the next week, I'm going to build this boundary of I'm not going to work past 5 o'clock. And you do that 3 out of the 5 days, like you set out to do. You're like, all right, now I'm going to get myself a nice little reward kit. I'm going to get myself a nice little, Fit Beast fun forearm set or whatever. It doesn't have to be that. I'm just kind of like pointing that out. Or I'm going to get myself, again, a massage gun set. Or I'm going to get myself a planner. And this is actually like what the planner, I mentioned this in the last office hours, but it's another one I want to bring up here. This one digs into a lot of this stuff. And I've dug into it a little bit more. I've done some homework since our last live stream. So I wanted to prepare and share with you some of the takeaways here and how this fits really well into, again, a habit and some of the practices you can do. But when it comes to boundaries and balance and intentions, let's look at some of this. So one of the things I really appreciate is some of the daily rituals, like, again, what I'm grateful for. So I listed out 11 things I'm grateful for. And I remind myself on a daily basis, all right, I get to pick out a couple of these things. Like, for example, today's a new day. I have my mind, my body, and whatever health I have that given day. Even if I'm feeling sick, like, hey, I have that. That's more than maybe what others have. So I can be grateful for that. For God, for myself, for the deposits I've made in the past that have brought me here. Like, I'm living my dream life. If I'm being honest with you guys, like, I like this came up in a video I saw one of my buddies and fighters and good friend Deuce Carter, who's fighting next week. I'm making his pro Muay Thai debut. Talked about like, do you love this? Like, is this something you've dreamed about? Like when I was a 5-year-old, I dreamed about 3 things: being a Ninja Turtle, being a pro athlete, and being a business owner. So I like, in my opinion, I'm living my dream life. So that's something that I think this book prompts and can be really helpful for. Also, our affirmations. Like, what are my affirmations? I am whole. I am loved. I am relentless. That's like my word for the year. I am slow, smooth, fast. I am flowing. I am present. I am calm. So the point is, I'm a champion. Like, these are the affirmation statements. And then there's another one I really appreciate too. They say I need to remind myself, and I put things I get to remind myself. So I'm enough. I've got nothing to prove. God loves me. Checking daily with my parts. That's like a whole nother thing of parts work that I'm working on. So the point is, I'm sharing all these things. This book, even in the first page, gives so much value. Here's the one thing I would say though, and then we go into like awareness, self-discovery, my core values, what brings me joy. These are the important things, especially when you're going through burnout. Really start to question. This is what I'm talking about. Take audit of your life. This is a really important one. And this takes a little bit more than 2 minutes. So I'll be honest. This isn't a 2-minute kind of an exercise. This is a longer one. But by doing this, you're going to set the stage for adjustments that you can make. And then I like how they have a vision board. So me and the kids are going to draw out our vision boards. Then it maps out like, okay, where do I want to be a year from now? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I started to map out my age. And I'm going to go through the categories. And they do a great job of, again, breaking all this down. The one thing I will say, this entire book is really more complex. So this I wouldn't make this the first accessible thing. I talked about this last week. I would make the daily Stoic journal my first like accessible step, then go to the planner, then go to this more comprehensive planner. But the point is, these are the activities, these are the takeaways, the actionables you can kind of focus on that will allow you to get to a place to shift from burnout and put in a little bit of adjustments and even explore, hey, what kind of boundaries do I need to set? Like, what are my core values? What are the things that I may struggle with? And then, okay, I can focus on that. Where do I want to be a year from now? All right, I want to be in a place where Like, for example, I know we've got insurance coming into our business, so we can start taking insurance coverage for coaching services. So I want to have that fully up and running. Okay, what are boundaries I need to set? I need to say no to certain opportunities or say no to certain things. That's a big thing when it comes to boundaries. Learning to say no and being able to apply our energy in a very intelligent, specific, designed fashion. So I think that's an important one when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to self-care, when it comes to burnout. I call it getting on the yes train. In sales, I've learned a lot in sales, especially when I was younger. You want to get people on the yes train. You start saying yes, like, hey, are you feeling good today? Yes. You ask them more easy oriented yes questions. And then when it comes time to like offer, pitch, and close, it's easier for them to say yes. The downside is when you get, I find myself, when I get excited about things, I start saying yes to things. I commit to things that maybe I didn't really think about, or I didn't think about how I can get in the way. So that's another part to even the boundaries component. And then figured I'll pause here for a second. I want to see if there's questions since we're doing it live. And then for the replay in the office hours, if you guys are watching this, again, morning. What's up, James? Morning, dude. I just saw this. So also got a comment. James, you also got the $50 gift card here on our Facebook group. So let me just pop back in here. Morning. Card for the first comment. So fun fact, I'll just prompt this here. And again, if you're on Amazon, no one's commented yet, so you can still get that $50 gift card. Daniel, you got it on TikTok. Amazon Live is still up for grabs, but on our Facebook, you got our $50 gift card. When I do my office hours every week on whatever platform I'm on, the first person to comment gets a $50 gift card. Also, if you vote for a topic, I'm going to pull out at the end of the office hours a raffle where I pick a random person that has voted for our office hours and they get a $100 gift card. But no one's actually voted this week. So what I would say is for next week, be the first, put in a vote, make a request on a topic. If wherever you're watching this, in the link, there will be an area you can vote. The only thing is on TikTok and Amazon Live, you're not going to have that. But you can go jump on our newsletter, go to our link tree, our website. You'll get a link. I'm going to add it to the website where you can vote for a topic and you can win a $100 gift card. On Facebook, in StreamYard, and on our newsletter, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, wherever it's repurposed, you can go to the link in the description and you'll be able to actually vote. And then again, you get a chance to win a $100 gift card for LOF. So that's a big one. But so kind of going back to our theme, especially with the holidays, it can be important when we're saying no, even, and we think about our family, think about dynamics, being able to balance out certain dynamics. And so I'm going to go to You Will Rock as a Dad. This is a book also on TikTok you can get. So the point is, this is a simple one, but I'm highlighting this because this isn't I wasn't a first-time dad, my most recent with baby Hope coming, but I went through the book and it gives just some really good, not overwhelming, but actionable items. But the point of me brings, when it comes to the holidays, there can be a lot of expectations, especially if you just had a kid, or if you have a family and you have kids, dads, moms, whomever, out there can be a lot of expectations to travel. Like we're going to be going up to New York for Christmas, which I'm actually really excited about. I've not been able to bring my kids on Christmas Day to New York since they've been born for all my kids. So I'm really excited to be able to do that. But being able to have like a clear plan when you think about your family, when you think about the holidays, even beyond, it doesn't even have to just be the holidays, work, whatever the environment. Think about where you need to say no in your life. And maybe it's for your health, like say no to certain friends to go out drinking. Maybe it's saying no to go out here so you can go exercise, changing up your behavior patterns and being able to leverage different tools and leverage different activities. And so now I'm going to take a little bit of a pivot. I want to go over, okay, so let's now think about, okay, I'm already burnt out. Like I'm already sick. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things. And again, if you have questions, let me know and I will gladly address them in the chat. But now we're going to kind of just, I'm bringing it home from the office hours topics to now we're going to really dig into there's some of the tools and the tactile stuff and some of the more actionable oriented things that we can take action on. So now I'm going to even go on, this is where we go, TikTok and Amazon Live is going to be more of a helpful resource and tool. And again, if you guys are watching the replay on this, you can always check out, or you're watching this through our blog. I'm going to have a blog series out of this where we just talk into more details. If you want to get more of the insight or even references where I'm getting the data on this, you can check that out. But one thing I find helpful was all the kids have pretty much had like sore throats and whatnot. So being able to have these lozenges. Now, the thing when it comes to a lot of lozenges, we don't have to go too far into the weeds of it, but like I'm mindful of the ingredients. So I liked the Therazink, A, because of the ingredient of zinc, being able to have some of the other immune boosting components, but just the other ingredients of like organic cane syrup. Again, it's still sugar. Let's just be real. It's like the source of sugar, and also what are they doing to like color it? What dyes are they using? Stuff like that. Again, we don't have to go too far into the weeds, whether you agree or disagree. This is just what my values and my beliefs are, and what we can go through the different data on it if you want to. But I like they have honey, being able to do more organic kind of oriented ingredients. Still gonna have a little bit of sugar, but this is again helpful for the throat, getting some zinc in, getting some elderberry, being able to impact, especially for the kids. They enjoyed it. Like my daughter, who's feeling it the most, I think, she said, yeah, this is actually quite good. And like it was almost like candy to her. So it wasn't like a big fight to take it. Because sometimes I feel like you think of natural stuff, doesn't feel as good or just isn't as appealing. The other thing that we can go about is like, speaking of our kids, I got a whole box of supplements here for the kids, but one even for us as adults and parents. It's like a classic one. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but I'm going to highlight it, especially here for Amazon, is vitamin C. Like this time of year, I'm just doubling down on their vitamin C intake for our immune systems. We can A, because we're not getting enough sleep, B, just the increased stress that's also coming from that, but just upping the vitamin C intake. The only thing I will say, there is what's called the toxicity level. If you take too much vitamin C, you will potentially have diarrhea. Just a fun fact. I'm not a doctor. This is medical advice, but just something to be mindful of that can happen and that you may want to consider is you may start to have some rough bathroom experience if you have too much. But you have to take a toxic level of it. And I could even put a whole, we actually have like an old guide I've put from nutrients on like what toxicity levels could be for each one. And also I'll highlight just for the brand Triquera, it's plant-based. So if that's an important aspect to you, they're also, again, I've looked up on certain websites. Like I like using quackwatch.org to verify, see if there's any like scandals or scams or issues with the products. And this one comes up clean every time. So I really appreciate them. Another thing I'll talk about is for even the kids, and having our kids multi. So we haven't given this to them. They're still finishing out some other multivitamins from some other brands we work with, but I will highlight the chocolate. I'm excited to see how they actually feel, because this sometimes can be hit or miss. And the big thing, especially for kids, I'm sure my parents out there, you know this, is how does it look? How does it taste? And how does it feel? So I'm curious to see how they're going to feel about this one and the presentation. But these are like bears, like little like chocolate bears. So I'm going to pop one out. And I'm actually going to try it myself because I haven't taken it. Oh, there's like chocolate. I thought it was like, so this is like legit chocolate. I thought it was like more powdery. Bro, because you're going to love this. You can taste a little bit of, we'll call it medicine-y flavor. When I say medicine-y flavor, like there's some, I can't put my finger on it, but it's a coconut. Okay, that makes sense. You can taste a little bit of it, but this is actually really good. Again, it has options for kids 2 to 3 and then 4 and up. 2 a day. Covers your basic from your fat soluble, water soluble. So your fat soluble is vitamin D, A, K, and E. You're going to want to take it with fast. So you don't want to take this fast. So this is going to be something you're going to have with breakfast. And again, really, it's like you can say, 2,000% of my daily intake of this and that. You don't need that much necessarily. It's just some of that's marketing. Also, some of it, there is benefit to like stacking it, but a lot of it, you're just going to waste. So like, you don't have to go that crazy. It's about finding a brand you trust, flavors, the intake, especially for your kids. So this is one I'm excited for them to take. Another one I'm going to slightly like, we'll get to that one. Okay, we'll get to this one. Now let's talk about for our teens. So this is the teens one. Same thing. These are the gummies though. So I think, again, when it comes to like teens, if you make it connected and in value to what they care about, like I remember when I was 16, dude, I was taking like brewer's yeast, which is disgusting. If you guys don't know about brewer's yeast, that was like originally how you take in glutamine. Before glutamine was refined the way it is as a marketable supplement, I would take brewer's yeast to get glutamine. They'd like take the top layer off of like brewing yeast and like that, like they would get it down. It tastes disgusting. So I know like if you make it important to them, it doesn't have to be that good, but this is actually the gummies. Quite good. And again, has the basic stuff. What I will say is they use also like just natural coloring, like carrot concentrate for coloring. I like seeing that personally versus like dyes and whatnot. Whether you believe in all the impact dyes can or cannot have, why even try? Like, why not just go with something that's like carrots and more natural based things? So that's a good one. And even for the teens, having it as well, because here's what I will say, working with teens in ADHD space and in general, nutrient deficiencies can be impactful on how we show up. Our immune system function, especially when we're getting sick and tired, covering those bases can be helpful. Another thing I will say, this is a slight pivot for a different brand, but I just want to like. I'm actually going to take this. The B12 with Limelight. This is one I've worked with in the past, and the best way to take it, from my understanding and seeing the information presented, is um, orally or sublingually, like under your tongue. I said that right. Sublingual, and being able to have absorbed. So it's just a more efficient way to take it in. And honestly, I like can feel this. This is one I like. Maybe it's placebo, but if you just look, I can back it with science. Again, if we go to our blog, I'll put citations and references for PubMed, National Institute of Health, all those things, where it actually backs it. So we'll say that one. What I will say, speaking of the B vitamins, I will go into our biotin from Yum Versus. So it's another B vitamin, biotin. These, I want to try the gummies. Let's just see. And I love seeing this. This has got like a really high percentage. So especially during the time of year when your body's, I'm going to take one. That's actually really good. Okay. That tastes like, just from a taste perspective, on point. But I think can also be impactful for like hair, skin, nails, things like that, not just from an energetic perspective. Again, if you want to see more on this, I'm going to put it in the blog and go into more details around the products, the nutrients, and how they're impacted. But being able to have, again, this is all from Yum Versus. The other one was from Limelight that I highlighted with the B vitamin, but have a brand you trust. I'll, again, highlight, even in the blog, link to different third-party nonprofit organizations that have no financial interest in approving brands or not, that I have learned even back in college when I was going to Stony Brook University. These are the ones that we used for our athletes and for our students that were coached through us to be able to leverage. Another one that we got right here, I'll go to, is our Strong Earth Gummies. This is another one from the Immune Shield, the elderberry mixed with zinc and vitamin C. So this hits all of them in one mark, especially immune system wise. This one's like, if you're going to get one, this puts it all together. So you could get them individually if you want, but this one's pretty sweet because it puts it all in one place. And it is gummies. This is 2. Let's try these. I'm just got my like sugar intake this morning, which is gummies. And when you hear elderberry, sometimes it can be gross, but I think gross, but it's actually really good. And it's vegetarian. We'll look at the level. So vitamins. Yeah, you're not going to get like, again, this is going to be a toxic level for both the vitamin C or the zinc. But it's going to be a good amount. Again, when you think about our immune system, time of year, I think about supplements, right? There's like 5 supplements I take year round. Good multivitamin or greens product, an omega-3. Being able to take vitamin D3, K2, having a good protein powder, and having a good creatine. These are 5 things I take year round. Then, depending on the season, depending on what's going on, I might throw in like Immune Shield, or I have like ashwagandha for concentration and for other like functions of energy. Or maybe I'll use like magnesium in the evening time to help me sleep, or even if I need to, one-off melatonin. But this is another one that can be like from an immune shield when you're getting sick. This time of year, the season can be impactful. Again, also talk to your doctor. This isn't medical advice, but like I literally just saw my doctor yesterday, and I've been working with our medical director, Dr. Eric. I'm going to get to talk to him on Monday. Now I have my primary care physician I get to see in person as well, and they get to collaborate together. I'm really excited about that. So last piece I'll throw in is with the Yum Versus is our multivitamin. This is not the teens. This is, let me get for pretty much everybody with iron into it. So you can have it for your kids, but you can also like, honestly, adults, I'll be real with you guys. Sometimes like if I ran out of my multivitamin or whatever, I'll take it too. You know, it's not the exact same levels that we want, but like, you're going to be all right. You're going to cover some bases, and it has some added iron into it. It's going to be impactful for depending on how old your kids are, whether it's their physical development from a muscular standpoint, whether it's, again, you think about like bone density, that's a more common one, but this can be impactful. Again, I'll get into the blog value in that if you want to read up on it. And then lastly, from a supplement standpoint, we have from a sleep, I mentioned this before, we have Good Night by VitaFit. I have a couple different brands I've worked with and just tried out. What I will say is the combination I like here is they got theanine, they got magnesium, vitamin D, niacin, ashwagandha. Like that's again 5-HTP. That's the one I wanted to highlight. Ashwagandha. I've talked about more like relaxing, calming for getting a good night's sleep, being energized for the next day. But the 5-HTP I haven't talked about in a while. The only thing I will say is this has melatonin in it. I don't love melatonin as a daily, nightly supplement. It does impact potential circadian rhythm and reliancy to it. This would be a good, like, again, when I think anything that has melatonin is a good one-off once a week, or like using in acute situations, but not chronically daily getting in the habit of it. That's the only thing I would say with that. And that's pretty much it from a supplement standpoint. The one thing I want to talk about from a self-care standpoint, again, when we think about burnout and those types of things, is I have these kind of cleansing pads for like just like exfoliation. I want to highlight really quick. This is something I've been working on. Again, shout out to my homie Deuce. So Deuce, believe it or not, he really invited me to think about this, where it's like, dude, you don't like lotion up daily and stuff like that. So like, it's a way of self-care is kind of what I'm getting at. And doing a little exfoliation like this is self-care. My version of self-care twice a week now is just making sure that my like facial hair is trimmed up. I didn't even put that in the live stream. I can put it in the blog and we can talk about that more. But having some like exfoliation, I've been doing that in the shower pretty much daily now. I haven't tried these pads out yet, but it's actually, let me give you guys a live like unboxing. But this is when, again, you have burnout. And if you want to like create some actionable, like a 2-minute daily deposit, and it may not be physical, maybe you're not feeling good. Even when you're sick, like just take a 2-minute daily deposit, like again, brushing your teeth, but also as an add bonus, that's something you're probably already doing daily regardless. I'll be real with you guys. It's something that I won't cite who and what and where, but like I have clients that we like, and even myself, I've had different stages of like where I'm depressed and stuff where like, I'm not showering or brushing my teeth every day. That's how I know I'm really burnt out, struggling, mentally not doing well. There's other things going on. If I'm avoiding a shower for like a day where I'm not brushing my teeth all day, that's something I really get to look at, especially if I'm working out or other things. Oh yeah. So are the pads in here too? Oh yeah, this is like heavy oiled up. There's 50 in here from my understanding. And this is, again, a turmeric-based exfoliation. I'm going to use it with you guys real time. And again, this is another one, again, self-care, taking care of yourself and just taking some time. If your story is, I don't have time or I don't have the energy, that's how you know, you're burnt out, but then you get to make that time. Oh, there's like a bunch in here. So I took out more than one. Totally going to have to wash my face after this, and this goes to show you how little I actually do it outside of the shower. Cause like usually you wash your face, you do it in the sink and you have a whole protocol. I'm just like straight up doing it, but also smell wise, it's kind of nice, but it's not overwhelming or empowering. But there you go. Nice exfoliation. Again, so this is like, even to me, like, cool. I did a little bit of self-care with you guys today. And I would invite you guys, if you're watching this, whether live or the replay, like go home, do this right now for yourself. Only drawback is wash my hands. Here's a unique one. This is actually one more thing. I have a couple other products I was going to talk about. I'm not even going to get into them. I'm going to actually wrap it up so I can tag in early with Carrie. But one thing I actually wanted to highlight is this is kind of going to be out of left field, but believe it or not, I've seen a lot of like science to back this one. So I might actually do two, but let me see if I can find it. This one I think might surprise you, but once I explain it, I think it'll make sense. So it doesn't have to be this particular brand, but cleaning, when you're burnt out, when you're stressed, when things are going on, like same thing, self-care for your face, self-care for your space. If there's a project you've been avoiding, if there's like, honestly, this is what I did too. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I wasn't feeling it. I put together something the other day when I was like feeling sick. I'm like, I'm going to get outside in the sun. I'm going to slowly put together this project I've been avoiding for a while. And it felt so good to finally getting it off my list. Same thing with cleaning, like getting a cleaning routine in, and it doesn't have to even be every day, but even one-off when you're not feeling so great, clean up your space. Look at your space. The one thing I'll highlight for the Quick and Bright, I've worked with this brand before, never had any issues. They've sent me a variety of different things. The one thing I will say, this particular one is an all-purpose cleaner. So car, house, like your furniture, whatever. This one's pretty legit, and that's why I like kind of having it around. And it's one of those things you don't think about until you need it. You don't have it, kind of a deal, but that's a pretty clutch one. And again, from a cost effective, it's like, this doesn't seem like a treat yourself thing, but like treat yourself by you're going to get physically moving a little bit. You'll reset your brain chemistry, and you're going to be able to say, that feels good when you're proud about the space that you're in. So I would just highlight, take advantage of that as well. I know that probably sounds crazy, but yeah, just the last one I want to throw in there. And then this is something I sent an email out about already, but I'm going to acknowledge it here on the live stream, and then I'll start to slowly bring it home, is I talked about when I was talking about protein last week, so I'm going to highlight the sports research one, but I compared it to the Premier Protein, whey protein, and then I also had my Nutter Butter Ghost, and then I had the sports research. I have that in the other room. It's actually mixed in my coffee right now. Because the cool thing about this is you can put it in with your coffee, and it doesn't add any flavor. So if you like it black, but I comboed it. Check out what I did. I put some of the powder in here, and I also threw in with my Premier Protein, so it doesn't get all coagulated and gross once you cool it down with the Premier. Throw in the unflavored collagen peptides, mix it up with my frother. The point I'm bringing all this up is last week I talked about essential versus non-essential amino acids. I basically screwed it up and I swapped them. I tend to do, I've been doing this literally since I've been going to school, and it's yet to stick, but I think I kind of got it figured out. Point is, I said the essential ones are the ones you don't need. Because in my mind, even when I was learning, I'm like, oh, it's essential. Our body would make it. That's why we don't need it. But it's actually, they're essential because you need to get it from food or supplementation. So those are the ones that you need to get from supplementation from your food. Non-essentials are the ones your body are naturally taking care of. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't still get them from your food to support, because your body may not be able to keep up with the demands. But just saying, I screwed up last week. I wanted to acknowledge it. Even though I've been doing this for like 20 years, it's kind of embarrassing. Sometimes I still make mistakes, but I like to be real with you guys. Say, hey, I'm not perfect at the same time. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's a part of it. So that's the last little thing I'll throw out there. And with that being said, I'm going to bring it home. I'll pause for a second. Again, this is normally where we would announce our winner for the gift card, but no one voted this week. So again, if you voted, you can put yourself in the running for that week. When I say voted for a topic we'll have, and I'll put it on our website. We'll have it up. I just recommend you check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Appreciate you guys. And with that being said, I will catch you later. Cheers, everyone. Cheers on the TikTok, Amazon, our office hours. I'll see y'all around. Bye.